Hello, everyone. This is Beastly Eel here, and today we are going to be doing a Marvel character spotlight on Julia Carpenter. Now, this name should sound familiar for most people because that is going to be one of the characters in Madam Web, the movie. So, we're going to talk about her comic book history. She has been around since 1984 and has not disappeared since. Or let me rephrase that this way: she's not died since. So, let's get right into it. Julia Cornwell was born and raised in Los Angeles, California, the daughter of Walter and Elizabeth Cornwell. She met and married her college sweetheart, Larry Carpenter, and together they had a daughter named Rachel. Unfortunately, shortly after he got a job in public relations, he began to cheat on Julia, and after 5 years of marriage, they divorced, and Julia was awarded full custody of their daughter. A secret government group called the Commission decided to create their own superhero. Val Cooper met college friend Julia Carpenter in Denver and convinced her to be part of an athletic study. She was un- she was an unknowingly um, a test subject in their experiment. During the experiment, they accidentally injected her with a mix of spider venom and exotic plant extracts, which gave her powers very similar to those of Spider-Man. Not long after she was given the identity of Spider-Woman, she was drawn into the first Secret Wars. After returning to Earth, Julia joined the Freedom Force, but much like her predecessor, found herself on the wrong side of the law. She left the team, and when she helped the Avengers escape, and when she left the team when she helped the Avengers escape the Vault. She teamed up with Iron Man when she was stalked by a trio of high-tech bounty hunters known as the Seekers. They came to collect the bounty, which was placed on her head. She was wanted by the U.S. government after she had helped the Avengers. Iron Man decided to help her with her daughter's situation. They battled the bounty hunters, but it ends when she decided to surrender to the U.S. government. She teamed up with Spider-Man to battle the Wrecking Crew and eventually found herself as a freelance hero when one of her assignments led to California looking for a team of Asian supervillains. She met and assisted with the West Coast Avengers several times. Now, Julia's main enemies were the arachnid-based team called Death Web, which consisted of three supervillains who were created by the Commission using a variation of the same serum that transformed her. When Mike Clemson, founder of Death Web, captured Spider-Woman's daughter, he blackmailed her into fighting Spider-Man, even though she nearly killed Spider-Man. She couldn't actually commit the murder, and Spider-Man helped her rescue her daughter Rachel. She then found her place with the West Coast Avengers, and once they disbanded, joined their spin-off team, ForceWorks. Eventually, Julia walked away from the superhero business to concentrate on raising her daughter. Like Jessica Drew, which was the original Spider Woman, Julie was also attacked by Charlotte Whitter and had her powers stolen. After the loss of her powers, Julia returned the normal life of a mother. She was paralyzed for several months after she lost her powers, even though all of her other injuries had healed. The Shroud's company synthesized a duplicate of the serum that originally provided Julia with her powers, and these returned several days after it was administered to her. With the Shroud's help, she went under immense physical therapy and soon able to walk again, and it was during this time that she and the Shroud fell in love. Isn't that cute? Her powers were now restored. She was now using a new code name, the Arachnid. The Arachne, I believe, is how you pronounce it. It's Arachne, which was the name she originally intended to use in the first place. And during the Superhuman Civil War, Julia registered under the Superhuman Registration Act, and she and Wonder Man and Miss Marvel in the training of novice superheroes. However, Julia was originally a double agent where she was first responded to Iron Man's request. She thought that they would be helping people escape registration. She tipped off several targeted superheroes who had refused to register with the government, such as the Prowler. She was by now romantically involved with the Shroud, an enemy of the Superhuman Registration Act. Julia was found out, and when a captured prowler revealed under interrogation that she had tipped him off. A government strike led by Miss Marvel, including Wonder Man and Ar- Arnia, Arna, attacked Julia at her home just as she was about to flee the country with her daughter. Julia was captured and incarcerated. However, Julia escaped captivity during the Negative Zone prison break and returned to Colorado in search of Rachel. A SHIELD PSYOPs team telepathically traced her to Brooklyn, where she furiously confronted Arena, demanding to know where her daughter had been taken. Now, she had spent some time living in Canada and working with the Canadian government as part of the Canadians' new superhero team, Alpha Flight. She was given the option of having her outstanding charges dropped in exchange of her participation of the team. And after a battle against the Wrecking Team, Julia decided to stay on the team. She helped the team expose Dr. Benning, who was using her position with the Canadian government to force an addiction on the new Guardian, Michael Pointer, by feeding him mutant energy of captured criminals. With the departure of most of the Alpha Flight's members, Julia eventually returned to America. Now, Julia was dragged into Sasha uh, Kravinoff's grim hunt of Spider Man as a means to resurrect her husband, Kraven the Hunter, after the unsuccessful attempt at resurrection through the sacrifice of Maddie Franklin, who was the third woman to take the name Spider Woman. Julia was captured by Kravinoff's family alongside Arena to be further sacrifices. As Spider-Man put a stop to their scheme, the Kravinoff's important prisoner, Madam Web, was mortally wounded, and in her final moments, Madam Web transferred her telepathic, precognitive, and astral projection powers into Julia, making her blind and the new Madam Web and Weaver of the Spider family. So Julia's first action in the role of Madam Web was to prevent Peter from killing Craven, explaining to Peter that he was the center of the moral web that would be destroyed if he killed Craven, and advising him that this murder, however justified, would turn him into a ruthless destroyer. After burying Kane and Madam Web in a potter's field, she explained her new purpose to Spider-Man and Arena before teleporting away. Afterwards, Julia gave her Arcane costume to Anaya so she could become the newly christened Spider-Girl. When population of Manhattan developed spider powers, Julia observed the crisis with Shang-Chi, preventing him from intervening until Spider-Man was accidentally attacked by the new Avengers when he tried to help out. Later, as Anti-Venom worked on on curing the individuals affected uh, of their spider powers, she reflected on the need for both Venom and Anti-Venom to fix the Spider Island problem, I should say. At the final battle of Spider Island, she soon realized that Kane, who had been cured, was the one who was willing to kill, unlike Peter, thus seeing him as the last hope of killing the Spider Queen. After the Spider Island events, Julia aided Spider-Man during a race against time mission to stop a catastrophe that would destroy the entire city. She warned him that he had to do this work by himself without the aid of either the Avengers or the Future Foundation. After the danger was averted, Julia congratulated Peter on his efforts. Shortly before, Dr. Octopus swapped his mind with Peter Parker's and temporarily became Spider Man. Madam Web suffered an overload of her powers as a consequence of the preceding the death of Spider-Man. Witnessing every point in the future for a split second before falling into a coma, luckily she had previously foretold this event, for which she had called for an ambulance before collapsing and was taken to the hospital. Julia remained in a coma for more than a year shortly after Spider Army defeated the Inferiors and Otto Octavius started damaging the web of life and destiny that connected all spiders. She woke up from her condition claiming that her connection with the web of life and destiny had been lost. Not long afterwards, Julia became a victim of stalking from her ex-boyfriend, the Shroud, who set up a gigantic surveillance system in Alcatraz Island in order to find her as part of an ill-conceived attempt to fix his life. The Shroud managed to intercept Julia at a local airport since she was on a layover in the middle of of a flight to Denver, Daredevil managed to stop the Shroud during a subsequent scuffle. Julia was kidnapped by a henchman sent by the Kingpin. After Daredevil rescued Julia, she helped him set up a trap for the Shroud, on the pretense that she agreed to reunite with him. Julia met up with Max and kissed him. However, she was coated her lips with a tranquilizer to knock him out, so he could be apprehended by the authorities. During the clone conspiracy, with the emergence of a mysterious new company called the New You Technologies in San Francisco, Julia put the Shroud surveillance system to use in order to investigate them. Her attempts to hack into the Jackal's company were trailed back to her, and a clone of the Prowler was sent after her. After shutting down Julia's network, the Prowler attempted to convince her to join Jackal's cause, but she refused and escaped. Escaping from the attack from the new Electro, the Prowler was rescued by Julia. She directed her new U headquarters as they could retrieve the special pills that Prowler needed to ingest regularly to stay alive. Julia took advantage of this visit to investigate the facility. She stumbled into the original Madam Web, one of the many subjects of New You had cloned back to life. Madam Web refused to take her pills to halt the degenerative process of her body, since she had seen the future and refused to be a part of it. Before passing away, Madam Web told Julia to save the Prowler. When all of the new U clones started degenerating as a consequence of the clone of Dr. Octopus, sabotaging the Jackal's plans, the Prowler crossed paths with Julia and accused her of sabotaging the facility. Now, after failing to convince the Prowler she was not at fault, Julia knocked him out. Not long afterwards, the dying Prowler was again attacked by Electro. She found him and managed to aid him to fending off Electro, while also informing the Prowler that Spider-Man had managed to figure out a way to stabilize the massive degeneration. When Electro attempted to attack Julia, the Prowler sacrificed himself to protect her and died in her arms. In the aftermath of this crisis, Julia found the real Hobby Brown in a cryo sleep and informed him of his clone's actions. Order of the Web. Julia's precognition attuned her to shared visions of Peter Parker's suffering, dying by the way of disfigurement and bandage demon with Miles, Cindy, Gwen, Jess, and Anaya. After Julia gathered and warned them that an unknown force had brought Spider-Man into conflict with Sin Eater, her petition to the other Spider heroes reached a consensus that they founded the Order of the Web to save Peter from Norman. Following the Sin Eater's momentary imprisonment, the group boarded his escape pod, but she witnessed Norman's antagonism with Peter over Gwen, as Peter uncharacteristically threw Norman out to be prey for Sin Eater while they escaped. Julia foresaw this outcome, knowing the horror of what would come next. Like the others, Julia possessed by a demon sent by Kindred to kill Spider-Man. Those whose sacrifice of Norman was a deal sealed with Kindred. Before the complete possession, Julia told Peter there was no avoiding the events to come. Under the control of Kindred, the Order began wreaking havoc across the city and even battling the New Warriors. Arriving at Brooklyn Bridge, they attacked innocent bystanders and were also harming themselves. Forcing Peter to deal with the demon, Kindred accepted the deal and released the spider heroes from his control. The confused heroes were then met by Doctor Strange and Black Cat, as the sorcerer explained that they needed to collaborate in order to help Peter. Julia used her precognition to see the future ideas Strange would have in order to expedite their plan of action. They all ventured into the astral plane, leaving Black Cat behind to guard their way back. After traversing Peter's traumatized dreamscape past, a horde of demons to reach a portal to Kindred's cemetery, the group was no match for Sin Eater, augmented by Merlot's powers. Seeing a victory, Julia let the villain kill and take her powers, but went mad after seeing Kindred's truth and committed suicide, reviving Julia back to life. However, Kindred captured them and forced them into being dinner guests for his party. Julia and everyone's lives were saved by Mary Jane Watson's timely petition of self-sacrifice and Norman Osborn's arrival. With Fisk's successful entrapment of Kindred, Julia and the others were allowed to escape, concluding the ordeal by going home to recuperate. But with the confusion of certain facts, Julie and the others voted to continue as the group and find out what else they could about Kindred while apprehending escaped inmates. Now that is the end of her comic book story, but let's talk about her powers. She has superhuman strength. She possesses strength where she can lift at least 10 tons. She's capable of running at speeds considerably greater than the finest human. Same thing with her stamina and agility and reflexes and even durability. She has a regeneration ability. She is able to recover from mild to moderate injuries somewhat faster and more efficient than a normal human. She was capable of fully healing on her own in a matter of days that would require an ordinary human to undergo surgery. And she was also physically immune to all known types of poison. Superhuman tactical sense. She has a sense of touch is developed to the point that she can sense vibration like a spider on its webs. Her senses are so sharp she can detect a hollow area under a solid steel floor by walking over it. She also has psionic powers, which she was given to her um, as a result of her spider powers, which is wall crawling, psionic webbing. She utilizes psionic based webs by introducing a psicokinetic energy, which binds a free floating molecules into strands of solid force. She has psionic vibrations. She can, by casting strands of her webbing into the environment, she can feel the vibrations of anyone around her. As Madame Web, she has precognition, which she has perceived aspects of the future. She's a telepath. She has astral projection and teleportation. She's also an expert in hand-to-hand combat. And when she took on the powers of Madame Web, she was later made blind. So the power grid in Marvel is, as always, out of 7. So her intelligence is a 2, which is considered normal. Her strength is a 4, which is about lifting between 825 tons. Her speed is a 3 because it's superhuman. Her durability is also a 3 because it's enhanced. Her energy projection is a 4 because it's at medium range. And her fighting skills is a 3 because she has some training. So, Julia Carpenter has been originally Spider Woman from 1984 to 2006, where in 2006 to 2010 she was Arcanine, and then from 2010 on she's been known as the new Madam Web. So overall, we're going to be seeing her in the Madam Web movie, where she'll actually be Spider Woman at this time. So we'll be interested to see what happens to her and seeing if maybe down the road she actually becomes the new Madam Web. But we'll have to wait and see. But for now, let me know what you guys thought about this character in the comments below. Did you like it? Did you not? And are you excited about Madam Web? And if there's a character you'd like me to do a character spotlight on, please let me know in the comments below. It does not have to be just Marvel. It could be DC, could be Star Wars, could be even anime. Anything, even Invincible, any of the characters you'd like me to do. Please let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you like the content you see, please like and subscribe below. Other than that, this is going to be Beastly Eel signing out. Have a great night.